Potassium nitrate is becoming a standard in fertility programs for Western nut crops. Its compatibility, solubility, and flexibility make it the ideal base for custom blends. Ask your local PCA or CCA about incorporating it into your nutrition program.
Hello, I'm Matthew Malcolm with California Ag Network, reporting to you here today from the California Fresh Fruit Association annual conference this year in Ojai, California. I'm here with Ron Barsamian from Barsamian and Moody, the law firm out of Fresno. They always do a great job. They're a legal advisor for the California Fresh Fruit Association. He's always seems to be a featured speaker at this event, and for good or for bad, because sometimes you've got some good news and some not so good news.
Usually bad, but yeah.
To keep growers, employers out of trouble when it comes to the slew of laws and regulations coming through the pike. 2025 brings a new issue that we want to make sure that farmers, employers stay out of trouble with, referred to as a captive audience law.
Yeah,
Can you tell us about that?
But that's it. And it's basically a law that has been passed in about a dozen other states, finally California. And it basically puts restrictions on an employer's right to communicate with its employees about such things as unionization, which is what a lot of my discussion with the group was today, as it affects any unionization efforts at their places. And if the employers, which they should, want to communicate with their employees about the employer's views about unionization, this law keeps them from making that a mandatory meeting. It also means that there's certain rules to follow to make sure that this law isn't violated. And the law carries some very heavy penalties. There can be a temporary restraining order or preliminary injunction relief against the employer. There's punitive damages. There's civil penalties, and that's counted by employee, by times that you've had the meeting, so that can rack up pretty quickly. And it can be enforced either by the Attorney General of the state of California or by plaintiffs' attorneys or selected groups such as unions under the Private Attorney General's Act, PAGA as it's well known. So it's an important law, and it changes the way in which employers can approach communications with their employees.
This comes at a very interesting time, I think, with our new president and some of the concerns and fears that have come across with immigration. And, this is a time where employers need to have some important conversations with their employees because many of them are immigrants. And there were concerns, I think, especially beginning in this new presidency with fears of maybe employees not being able to, or employers not being able to see their employees coming to work because for fear of getting deported of some sort. So this is a time when employers need to have some serious meetings with their employees to really help navigate the times, right?
We've got a lot of very, very concerned farm workers out there. And it's funny, what started all this was before President Trump even took office, was a enforcement action taking place down in southern part of Kern County that had started down in Imperial Valley by ICE, and it was going after criminals under the immigration law. But just the fact that ICE showed up in Kern County scared workers. People weren't showing up for work the next day, sometimes weeks later. People were very concerned. And in this kind of issue, we find strange bedfellows. You find employers groups and unions such as United Farm Workers all expressing very, very deep concerns about what's coming down the pike because everybody's always afraid, just like they always are. If they hear about any raids or arrests being made by immigration, it scares the entire community. And we haven't even started the harvest season yet, so we don't even know how this is going to play out. But that's where the captive audience meeting, it basically says that employers can't force employees to attend meetings of a political nature. Well, political has been interpreted to mean about unions or maybe such issues such as immigration. So obviously, this has an effect on the employers who want to, for immigration purposes, want to calm the fears of the workers and let them know, don't worry, this was a criminal prosecution thereafter, and nobody's talking about raids to the fields or the communities, but you can even be restricted in how much you can say about that. So, some of the do's and don'ts I tried to give out today was if you're going to hold safety meetings or tailgate meetings with your employees, don't make the part of that meeting be about unionization or immigration. Hold a separate meeting. Make it non-mandatory. If people don't want to attend, that's fine. Let them take a break. If you're going to pay the folks that attend the meeting, then pay the folks that are on the break. Not that big a deal when they're on hourly rates, but if they're on piece rate, you might have to determine how much money they lost on the piece rate earnings, which gets into a myriad of other issues. But with card check, that's been around now for a couple of years, it's even more of a concern because with card check, which is voting via authorization cards, there's no secret ballot election, you don't even know that your operation may be subject to a unionization effort. So employers who want to get out ahead of it and at least let the employees know what they feel are the pros and cons of unionization now are somewhat restricted by this law. So it's a big concern.
This is really concerning. I feel like it impacts some of our rights as Americans. The freedom of speech. I mean, whatever happened to that?
Exactly, and it's not just the employers whose rights are being affected; it's the workers. This means they're being cut off from information they may seek. For instance, about immigration, a lot of people turn to the employer first. What happens? Am I going to get raided while I'm picking grapes or something? And the employer has to be extremely careful about what they're going to be saying. So it's not just the rights of the employer that are being affected, it's the rights of the workers to find out and get information.
Well, thank you for at least sharing what's happening, what's going on, and how to keep our farmers out of trouble, because a lot of this stuff starts with well-meaning. They're doing these things trying to help, and we certainly don't want to get in trouble for bringing up certain subjects in the wrong times. So thank you for helping to clear
From a
it
personal
up.
perspective, I got two things to say. One, be careful about term limits, because all that means is you end up with a bunch of amateur legislators that come up with laws like this. The good old days is when you had people that were experienced. And number two, this is not the sky is falling like Chicken Little. In California, with agriculture, it's always raining from the sky with laws. So the sky is always falling.
So we certainly got to stay on top of these things. So thanks for keeping growers abreast of what's going on and how to stay out of trouble and stay, frankly, out of your office, right? So,
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much. Read more about these things in our publications. I'm Matthew Malcolm, CaliforniaAgNet.com.